Yeah, Ryan and I were just watching something that could be put into that same category of, the Primal building. It's like usually time lapses.
You're seeing those, the Thailand guys that dig the whole pool and all the houses and all that stuff.
Handmade tools.
Those guys got to get done with that and then go back to their $10 million mansions.
Yeah,
not
just
even,
wait. You hear the thing.
Unfortunately, it's not even like that. You tell it.
So yeah, I started on TikTok.
Pop the video up though. You gotta explain these.
Anyone who has ever gotten drunk or high and went on Facebook has definitely watched.
I don't know if they would have because I've never seen it before.
Really?
You guys showed me. And I watched so many different things. So just explain what it is.
It's actually also it's more of like if you sign into or don't sign into YouTube. If you just go to YouTube and
you
then
find so many different
bit.
people. Doesn't YouTube seem so? You feel like you've got it pretty covered on the platform if you're under your account. But if you go to YouTube unlogged in, the whole homepage is a bunch of people you've never even heard before.
And then every single time I do that, I find out that Mr. Beast has a new channel that he just started that only has 10 million subscribers instead of 100.
Poor guy. Yeah. So anyway, these basically they're time-lapse videos of two guys generally in Thailand or some country in that area.
Pop them up, just show little clips over on the podcast for the video
thing
viewers.
In the middle.
And that's all the ones I'd seen, but apparently there's like 10 or 20 of these channels.
Yeah, and they just dig a pool, or they start and they're like making a pool, and now the titles have gotten ridiculously out of hand. Let's take a pause. I got to read one. Here's one with 212 views in 2 months. 200 days building a model.
Wait, 212 million or 212?
212 million.
Okay, you missed the million part.
212 million.
That's damn near
all right,
how many views our whole channel
like,
has.
that's got to be the lowest counted video on YouTube that of people doing this.
It's just, they're so shareable.
Build most wonderful mud villa, twin water slide, gorgeous swimming pool, and pool top.
44 million listing.
And they almost list it like they don't know English, but they are
I don't know if they
capable
do, dude.
No, they do.
Like India and Thailand is like the next closest.
All right, okay, yeah.
There's a
So
lot of YouTube
get to
videos.
the point here, Ryan. What are these people living good or bad?
So
great.
Somebody exposed
They're obviously
them.
making a lot of money because they're making these time-lapse videos that appear to be relatively cheap to make, and they are pulling incredible view numbers. $44 million is like enough to live off of for a whole year and have a good life. Like you could probably live off that for years.
So they're also, keep in mind, they're wearing like a skirt, barefoot, no shoes.
They look like they live in a third world country.
And it looks like they're living. They're living in this.
Correct. And
like they're making this to.
Now people have figured out, they go, man, there's no way these people can be making these. And so as the internet sleuths do, they go in and they start investigating them. And they've slipped up a couple times in videos where it shows the guys digging and then it cuts to the next shot. Well, you can see excavator tracks that pull up and then have dug, and then the guys go back in and start digging a little bit, and then they get their shots. They pull out, excavator comes in. And so someone that actually works at those companies goes, it is still pretty impressive that we'll have, they said, no less than a dozen or 2 dozen.
They said a dozen. No more. That's the other part, is that keep in mind, it's never just 2 guys. It's never just 1 guy. It's never just 3 guys.
As they have portrayed.
It's multiple people.
But they come in with these crews, and in like a week, they'll build these villas that you see. But just a large crew of people will do it, and they completely sell it as 2 dudes out there with their sticks.
Like
blood,
chisels.
sweat, and tears.
Yeah, chisels, and not using an axe, like sharpening a rock and then cutting down the tree.
Talk about genius. Freaking strategic play.
So have they talked about the people behind it though?
Do they even know their names?
Like, do they know their names?
They probably don't.
Their living situations. Are they the ones running it, or like calling the shots, or is it just a douche canoe from LA flying over there and setting up
casted
GoPros?
2 guys. Yeah,
that's how I would assume it is. Is it some dude probably in Thailand? Because some guy in Australia actually did it and built primitive huts that looked like they were primitively built and got crazy views on it.
He's the one who started it.
And so people copied that format. And when they copied that format, I assume it's a bunch of billionaires or millionaires, and they go, this is what you guys are going to do. And they go hire some guys to go out there and do it.
Because they said that all of their channel their IP address was in the States. Their YouTube ranking was all based on United States. They were USA creators, but they weren't creating in the US.
You want to know something that I've learned over time is just like what you see isn't always what it really is. Mm-hmm. And like what you were saying, a lot of this stuff, there's some guy or an investor, whoever, there's investors, and then there's some guy running it in LA, and they casted some people, and those people are there's so many things that are so much deeper than how as they appear to be. Mm-hmm. I think that's very common, honestly, nowadays with even that kind of stuff. But
it's almost
You're so right. There's probably some producer that's running the whole show, and initially there's 2 investors. Those guys literally sit on their ass in their $1 million homes in California on the beach and
tune in for the 35-minute video of some dudes digging.
Yeah, they're like, check out this one this week, and they're running multiple different channels like that.
I think it's like when they figured out
replicable.
That on YouTube that they're like, wait, so it doesn't cost any money to just like put whatever works on YouTube. You know, they're obviously looking for whatever works.
Right, you just got to put some money in.
You know, normally if they were like, I want to invest in a show, well, that show's got to get a pilot, got to get pitched to freaking Discovery and then made on. But they're like, I never thought about it like that as far as like an investor. I never thought about like some dude being like watching YouTube and the algorithm, but also not wanting to YouTube himself and then just hiring it out and like pushing this whole thing and like making it work.
Dude, you guys should see like some of this. It's just insane, some of these channels, though.
I mean, Mr. Beast is the biggest. Like, he's the best at it.
I understand it, but there's so many other channels that you've never even heard of. Like, this girl, Rebecca Zamolo, she popped up on my homepage when I hopped on YouTube and I wasn't logged in. A full-grown woman. Like, she looks like she's probably like 35, maybe 40. And she makes these videos transforming into a superhero for my daughter. Like, Mr. Beast type of thumbnail. I clicked the video. I'm like, I gotta see what is she doing? And it was all so scripted. It was like a whole production. Like I was like watching the cuts, and I was like, it's so obvious. They're like, okay, now you say this because they already had the storyline.
This is
basically
typical.
YouTube is turning into this like reality type of TV or whatever. And if you just can find that, like I guarantee you, just little kids watch that.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Like very little kids.
Typical.
But there's an audience for it
in a non-perverted way, just to bait kids to watch fucking nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, bro. But it's just like a children's show, like any children's show.
And I'm not saying all the children's shows on YouTube are nonsense, but dude, I've seen a lot of like reactions to just really cringy channels, and I think the most depressing part about it is that they have millions upon 10 millions of views, and they just dilute themselves into some weird fashion of content to make a lot of money. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing that. I'm just making fun of it.
Yeah, I guess the thing about that is like those people are straight up just working. They ain't probably enjoying it. Like they're just working for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And it kind of is what it is. Like if it works, they're just like, it works. You know, that's our audience. I bet
at this point,
I'm sure they're not just
that's
like,
my point.
Yeah,
it's
this
like,
is awesome.
It's like almost
that's
a
what's
TV
cool
show.
about Mr. Beast is he has lived it since day one. He's so genuine on it. Even though he's doing the most outrageous things, there's teams behind it, whatever, but he is the dude.
No, realistically, but even his videos are like the same. Like when I watch, and I'm not discounting him at all, but when I watch, it's so clear to me that they had a storyline and they probably had a list of shots to get, and I think they went and did those for the most part, because like you watch it, just not all of it seems authentic. Like the last video where he went without eating or whatever, like the intro and stuff was very like obviously like you're gonna say this and then I'll say this.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but that's how they pump him out. That's how they pump him out so much. Like he goes in there.
But that's also how it works, though.
Like they had the script and everything on how he was going to film it, and then obviously the other stuff he ran. He just that's where it gets running gun. But even his to a point are relatively pretty structured out.
Well, he's talked about that like on podcasts before. He'll have like a base structure of like this is what I'm gonna say, and then pan over to Chris or whatever, and he's even said like most of my crew is so fast. Like, they're just so witty. They'll just say stuff, like, unscripted, and it just works that way. But he said that's the hardest part about filming with all these randos that come in is
they don't know the story.
They don't know the story. They don't know how to talk to the camera, nothing like that. So he was like, it's very, very difficult to have these randos act as actors, and it just doesn't work like that. So he was like, we couldn't fake these things. Like, you can tell it's like pretty awkward, like the people winning all this money and shit.
It unfortunately
It's nuts.
does seem like
I love Mr. Beast.
the more that you script or storytell or exaggerate or stuff like that, it seems to work for the larger audience. And I hate this because it's almost kind of like in movie theater. I'm sure a true movie buff hates a Marvel movie because they're like, this is so fake. This is dumb. The storyline's dumb. It's all just, some guy at a film festival is like, Marvel movies suck. But people watch them. And it's kind of the same way with YouTube. You could almost go to ours. You go, well, yeah, we've been working for years and years and years and have amassed 1.5 million subscribers. But if we went in and we went, hey guys, today we are going to build a quad snowmobile and then we're going to jump it.
Yeah, and then took out all the swearing and you did everything very just cut to the...
Yeah, and we went in, we had a whole team behind that built a snowmobile that actually freaking worked and, did all the things in the background to make it all great, and you had a thing at the end, whatever. If you scripted it out like that, probably would get more views and probably more people watch it. But to a point, it's like, who do you want to be? Do you want to live?
No, it's like almost the further away you get from being who you're portraying, the better it works.
Yes, exactly. And the problem is
like
you have
actually
to act.
being it.
And
right,
and
like
I think all of us,
King, dude. He's like,
exactly.
Primal. It's like if you go back to his earlier videos, he's like, good morning. I'm gonna be showing what I'm eating today, and he's like, this, that, and that, and now he's like, eating a whole beast and yelling and stuff because he's being that character because it sells.
And the more it sells, the more you get into it. But I mean, and circling
and the more
back
you have
around
to
too.
keep doing it. But that's the thing is we, with us, I would say we don't really go down that path because it's like every day you have to get up and act. We are the most genuine versions of ourselves, and you've seen it grow throughout the last 6 years where we have changed as people. But we just honestly, are who we are.
I think it would be easier if you were showing up though, and there was already a camera crew and like a whole set. True. And obviously it wouldn't work for what we're doing, but let's just imagine you were an act, and obviously acting's hard too, but they were like, here's a script, and then he stood behind and they had to like all the shots set up, like, all right, your line is hand me the 10mm wrench, Micah, and you're like, hey Mike, can you hand me the 10mm wrench? That'd be pretty so fucking boring, easy. Dude. It'd be very boring, but it'd be like way less stressful. Yeah, because you got to show up in a good mood around here.
I guess, yeah, dude, I could not do
right,
that.
this is better.
And also, then the worst part is that format you just talked about is probably making us 5 times the money that what we're doing right now makes us. So then, does it seem easier? Yeah, it does. But it just then becomes such a less admirable creator.
Exactly.